FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government.
The FBI director making a rare admission of an ongoing criminal investigation. The White House insists nothing to reports of contacts between the campaign and Russia. Welcome to Robert Jordan, former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia under President George W. Bush. Now, diplomat in residence and adjunct professor of political science at SMU's John Tower Center. And you just told me, I'm kind of glad I'm retired from the diplomacy game these days. This would not be an easy assignment.
Not an easy assignment, and at a time, I think, when we've got to be very careful about protecting our institutions.
This was highly unusual, and if you listen to this hearing, it was a tale of two hearings. When Democrats were asking the questions, it was all about the wiretapping claims, the links to Russia and the Trump campaign and the Trump White House. If you listen to the Republicans, they were all upset about the leaks of the names of Americans. Which is the real story as far as you're concerned?
Well, I heard someone say recently that it's like people being in a burning building and then being angry at the fact that someone called the fire department. These people are getting angry at the fire department, but what we really need is a comprehensive investigation, and let's clear the air. I think it is often tempting to change the subject, which I think the Republicans are doing. I think it frankly hurts their party to do so.
What concerned you most about what you heard out of Director Comey and the Director of National Intelligence?
Well, I think obviously confirming the existence of an investigation into potential misconduct by members of a presidential campaign is something that we all need to take a deep breath and understand. I'm very concerned that something like this has risen to the level of an investigation. They don't simply investigate every time someone calls them up and says, hey, look at my next door neighbor.
Right, right. There is something to it. In addition to wiretapping claims, you're an attorney. You know enough about this business that you know that somebody just doesn't pick up the phone and order a wiretap. This is and that was explained to the nation. This is a pretty complicated process. No president can pick up the phone and order a wiretap.
A president can't do it. You have to have a court order. You have to have probable cause to do so. And so there are a lot of checks and balances associated with these kinds of things. Clearly, there's no evidence of any of that happening, and I think the director of the FBI was very clear that, as he put it, the tweets are not accurate.
You are still connected to a lot of people who are either retired or still in the business of diplomacy.
Right.
What are they telling you about as they watch the Trump diplomatic circus going on?
Most of them are really troubled. They're troubled that, first of all, there seems to be very little respect for diplomacy. They have an orientation, I think, in favor of taking diplomatic solutions. This is troubling them. It's troubling them that our institutions are under assault right now, that there seems little respect for the courts, for the checks and balances of our system. And so I think they're patriotic people. I have no idea what their politics are, but they're very concerned.
And yet Donald Trump was elected by a lot of people who are angry and fed up with the system, and they will say he is doing exactly what he promised to do: drain the swamp, change the way things are done in Washington and the Good Old Boys Network.
That's exactly right. And so we have to respect the will of the people in having elected this president, but at the same time, I think we've also got to hold him accountable.
In some cases, we have managed to confuse, offend some of our closest allies: Great Britain, Australia, Germany. Did you ever think, and yet we seem to have a completely different attitude about Russia. What are your feelings about it? Is Russia operating in the best interests of the United States?
Of course not. They're operating in their own national interests, which frankly most countries do. It so happens that in most cases our interests with the Brits and the others have coincided sufficiently, but certainly not with the Russians.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
The ambassador is author of the book, Desert Diplomat: Inside Saudi Arabia Following 9/11. That was when he served. You can find a link to the book on fox4news.com.